Hey there friends, what's going on? It's Kodiak here. Welcome back to another Legacy Gaming video and more Elden Ring content in your feeds. You know you need it. And the good news is this. Bandai Namco just updated their website with an entire page dedicated to Elden Ring. A lot of write-ups, a lot of information, so I want to break it down with you. I want to check out every minute detail because this is one of those games that could define the generation. It could. Not going to overhype it. It could just be the next game from Software, and that's not bad either. But Elden Ring, everybody's excited about it. I know I am. I know Livid is. And as somebody that's just getting into the Dark Souls universe, I know I'm late to the party. I am very excited about this game. So before we dive in, you know what to do. If you want to follow along with our adventures in Elden Ring and beyond, hit that thumbs up, subscribe, and let's go. All right, so let's read this first blurb here. The Golden Order has been broken. Rise, Tarnished, and be guided by grace to brandish the power of the Elden Ring and become an Elden Lord in the Lands Between. In the Lands Between, ruled by Queen Marika, the Eternal, the Elden Ring, the source of Erdtree, has been shattered. Marika's offerings, demigods, all claim the shards of the Elden Ring, known as the Great Ruins, and the mad taint of their newfound strength triggered a war, the Shattering, a war that meant abandonment by the greater will, and now the guidance of grace will be brought to the Tarnished, who were spurred by the grace of gold and exiled from the Lands Between. Ye dead who yet live, your grace long lost, follow the path to the Lands Between, the foggy sea to stand before the Elden Ring and become the Elden Lord. So a lot of that information we already knew. We knew about the Lands Between, we knew about the Elden Ring being shattered and those pieces corrupting all of these demigod-like creatures who are the mini-bosses, or the main bosses, I guess you could say, in each of the regions of the world. What we didn't know is Queen Marika the Eternal. That is a new character that is being introduced to players. Really interested to learn more about her, and she clearly was the catalyst that started everything. This war called, what was it called? The Shattering, which is, you know, that's a classic term that we've seen in other fantasy games, but a really cool catalyst of events that led to the Lands Between being broken, being shattered, basically, no pun intended, and now all of the Tarnished being called back to try and, I guess, restore it and restore this grace or this greater will. So a really interesting bit of information there, and kind of the first new nugget of information about Elden Ring so far. Now, if we scroll down a little bit further, we get some more of the key features. A new fantasy world. Journey through the Lands Between, a new fantasy world created by Hidetaka Miyazaki, creator of the influential Dark Souls video game series, and George R.R. Martin, author of the New York Times best-selling fantasy series, A Song of Ice and Fire. Unravel the mysteries of the Elden Ring's power, encourage and counter adversaries with profound backgrounds, characters with their own unique motivations for helping or hindering your progress, and fearsome creatures. So very classic high fantasy writing there. Of course, we knew the game was being developed by From Software and Miyazaki, and yes, the world building was in large part due to George R.R. Martin. So nothing really new and groundbreaking there. Now here's where it gets interesting. World exploration in the Lands Between. Elden Ring features vast, fantastical landscapes and shadowy, complex dungeons that are connected seamlessly. Traverse the breathtaking world on foot or on horseback, alone or online with other players, and fully immerse yourself in the grassy plains, suffocating swamps, spiral mountains, foreboding castles, and other sights of grandeur on a scale never before seen in a From Software title. Now that leads me to believe things are going to be bigger and better than ever. And now, again, I am relatively new to the Dark Souls world, but from everything that I've read, you have all of these really exciting and interconnected worlds in each of the Dark Souls games. This is going to be probably the most ambitious, biggest, I guess, variation on that theme. So really exciting for players that just want more of that kind of Souls-like world in their lives. It's really cool. And this whole concept of a seamless world, I don't know if that means that they're going to attempt something with no load screens. I don't know how that would work. Maybe they could do it. I think we're at the point in development where it is a possibility hardware-wise, but that's what it leads me to believe. Based on my experience with the other Souls games, probably not. But we do have some pretty cool markers, and we've seen these in some of the imagery of the game so far. All of the different biomes, I guess you could call them. The grassy plains, the suffocating swamps. I know the Bloodborne fans are going to be excited about that. the spiraling mountains, the foreboding castles, pretty much everything you'd come to expect in a high fantasy game. All right, let's move down to the genre-defining gameplay. Create your character in From Software's refined action RPG and define your playstyle by experimenting with a wide variety of weapons, magical abilities, and skills found throughout the world. Charge into battle, pick off enemies one by one using stealth, or even call upon an ally for aid. Many options are at your disposal as you decide how to approach exploration and combat. Now, we know, and we've talked about this in the other videos, that this is going to be the most ambitious when it comes from a combat sense. They're going to give us a lot of options, and that's something that they really wanted to do. Flexibility is a key word when it comes to Elden Ring, and I'm really excited to see that because as somebody that really loves gameplay systems, loves the inner workings of how gameplay systems are connected to the player, I think that is fantastic. Some players will think of that as, oh, the game's going to be easier. That's not necessarily true. It just means that there's going to be more flexibility for players to make their own choice, and it definitely seems like they're doubling down on that idea. Now, if we scroll down, we get this really nice beefy bit of text here, Tarnished of the Lands Between. Here we go. The Golden Order has been shattered. Throughout the Lands Between, demigods hold shards of the Elden Ring, squabble and make war over the ruins of a perfect realm, now abandoned by the golden guidance of the Greater Will. As the echoing of this conflict thunders in the distance, an outcast arrives. Once their ancestors called the Lands Between home, but the blessed light of grace was lost in their tribe long ago, and they were expelled from the kingdom. They are the Tarnished, and they have returned to claim the Elden Lordship promised to them by legend. This is the world of Elden Ring. As a Tarnished, the Lands Between await your exploration. You will ride through the vast fields, galloping over rolling hills, and leap to the top of rocky crags on your ephemeral, there's the word, steed, revealing a world teeming with life and danger. In the grand fields where your journey begins, mystical creatures prowl the velds, ineffable horrors lurk in the bogs and marshes, and all manners of soldiers and iterate warriors are waiting for those who wander unawares. Shy creatures nibble on sweet grass or scuttle through the underbrush. Those few inhabitants who are not mad or hostile linger near the broken remnants of cities left by the shattering. They may have answers for you if you help them. Above them all, ensconced in vast legacies bristling with traps, secrets, and guardians, the demigods, warp lords who began as members of a royal and noble family, rule their dominance with the unyielding power granted to them by the shards of the Elden Ring. That is really interesting, specifically the parts that we didn't know about before. Of course, we're learning about the Greater Will, we're learning about the Lands Between. It's really this idea that the Elden Ring was shattered, these demigods now hold this unimaginable power, and they're fighting amongst themselves, and we, as a Tarnished, are coming back to this world, a world that we were once promised, basically, and trying to take it back. And I think that is really interesting, and I'm really excited about all of that world building that I'm hoping to see once I actually play the game. And you know, I've experienced a little bit of it in Dark Souls. I think this is going to be dialed up to 10. They wouldn't have brought in somebody like George R.R. Martin, who we can argue is a good or bad author and storyteller. That's not really the point of this, but somebody dedicated to high fantasy. And so I'm really excited to see how this all unfolds. So that is a really beefy paragraph, and we have one more little chunk down here. The guidance of lost graces, should you find them, will put you on a road to retake these lands from the demigods through might and magic, but you need not follow their path. The choice is yours. Do you crave power or do you seek understanding? Decide for yourself, then build the character as you see fit. Try dozens of skills and find ones that best suit your style. Practice stealth to avoid danger or catch enemies unaware. Use the environment, the weather, and the time of day to gain an advantage. Learn the art of combat, where you must read your enemy's intentions, and a well-timed dodge or parry could be the difference between life and death. Ride your steed into battle against mounted mercenaries and cut them from their horses. Master arcane spells from the masters that still linger among the ruins of war. Summon familiar spirits to even the odds again, and as you call in your fellow Tarnished to fight at your side and share the burden as you explore. Or delve into the complex, bloody history of the shattering and discover the lost secrets of the demigods and their kin. All these paths are possible and more. Ultimately, your journey will be defined by the strength of your own ambition. The greater your goal, the greater the challenge will be. Should you choose to claim the Lands Between as your birthright, then yes, you must fight. And yes, you may die, but you will return to fight again, for that is how a champion or a lord is born. So really cool storytelling here. I mean, as you can tell, I was just getting excited reading it to you guys because it is interesting to read from somebody that loves fantasy, loves high fantasy. It's very cool. Now, there is an emphasis here on stealth, which I think is interesting because Miyazaki has said in interviews that the stealth is going to be very rudimentary, so I really would not read too far into that. And the same thing with the mounted combat. They briefly mentioned mounted combat here and in the previous section. I don't think it's going to be that great, mainly because, again, Miyazaki has said it's really not about that. So I think we're going to get more of what we've come to learn and expect from Dark Souls, less of these new gameplay systems really being well-defined or well-evolved, I guess you could say. So a lot of world building, a lot of creation of the world and the story happening right here on the website. I urge you guys to go check it out yourselves. It's on the Bandai Namco website. You just have to go in there and search for Elden Ring. A lot of cool stuff to read, and maybe you haven't seen some of these images on the screen. They are very neat, and I'm just so excited, and I hope you guys are too. Again, not a super crazy in-depth, wildly edited video, but fun to talk to you guys about the Elden Ring. So if you like our content and you want more Elden Ring in your feeds, you know what to do. Hit that thumbs up, subscribe to the channel, and we will be back when more information about the game comes out. My name is Kodiak, and from everyone here at Legacy Gaming, thanks for watching, and play on.